What's up, YouTube? Today I'm going to answer the question, is an R56 Mini Cooper S with an N14 engine reliable? If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and stick around. You really want to watch this whole video. Before I get into the video, I want to let you guys know I have a Facebook group. It's called Mini Cooper DIY. If you're working on a Mini Cooper and you have questions or you have answers to other people's questions, please join that group. You're needed. And people will answer your questions. There's over 2,000 members already. It's growing fast, so join. I'll put a link in the description, or you can type in Mini Cooper DIY into the Facebook search and you'll find it, no problem. Okay, back to the video. Is the R56 Mini Cooper S with the N14 engine reliable? That's going to depend on how you take care of it and what you consider reliable. Like if you take, I'm not going to compare a Mini to a McLaren, but if you take a McLaren and think, you're not going to find one with 200,000 miles on it, because they're not going to make it, because it's a supercar and they're made to go fast. And these engines, even though it's not a supercar, it's only a 1.6 liter engine, and it's 172 horsepower when they're stock, which is more than 100 horsepower per liter. And that's pretty good. That's why they're not going to last. I mean, you see them, they'll last over 200,000 miles, but they're not going to be, it's not a Honda. It's not going to last like a Honda. But with that said, if you do the maintenance, and I'm going to get into what maintenance is, it's not just changing your oil. There's a lot of wear items on these cars that people don't consider wear items, and they go, oh, the car's not reliable because, you know, this part wore out that is a wear item and I didn't change it. That's not Mini Cooper's fault, it's not BMW's fault, it's your fault for not changing the part. On top of, you know, doing the changing out the wear items, there's also recalls on these cars. So from the factory, when they first came out, no, they were not reliable. They had problems, but they dealt with those problems, most of them. And if you get all of your recalls taken care of, maybe there was a part that was recalled and you haven't, maybe you can't get it recalled anymore, maybe your car's too old, change it yourself. It needs to be changed with the newer updated part. Off the top of my head, timing chain tensioner, I don't know if the timing chain itself was recalled, but the tensioner for sure was recalled. If you go buy a new quality timing chain kit nowadays, it comes with the updated tensioner. It's not an issue anymore. People will say, "Oh, you should get the N18." Then they'll say the N14 has plastic timing chain guides. So does the N18. But and what else would you use? What would you want them to use? Would you want them to use metal timing chain guides and shoot sparks and metal chips into your engine? No, of course not. You gotta use plastic, and it's a wear item. You got to change it. You know, they say changed every 80,000 miles, I believe is what people say. Do it. It's not that hard. I have a video on how to do it. I did it twice on this car. I put in a cheap one, and then about a month later, I decided to put in a good one, and I decided to make a video. You can watch my video on how to do it. You can see in my video I'm taking out new parts, because you can see, because I just did it, and it's easy enough to where a month later I was like, yeah, I'll do it again. It's like 22 bolts. It's not hard at all. But there's the timing chain, high pressure fuel pump. Buy a updated high pressure fuel pump. Wait until yours goes bad if you want, but don't say that your car's not reliable because you didn't upgrade to the new part when there was a recall. I think there was a recall on the auxiliary water pump. I'm not 100% sure. On one of the water pumps, either the regular water pump, the auxiliary water pump, or maybe both, there was a recall. Get those parts fixed. I have a video on how to replace both those if the recall is not available at your dealership. On the regular water pump, buy a metal one. Don't buy a plastic one, and it'll last longer. And even if you do get just an OEM replacement, it's gonna last longer anyway, because it'll probably last 100,000 miles. So just replace it. And that's all of the recalls I can think of off the top of my head. I'll link to them in the description as I find them. But see what else. I have a video. It's called 11 ways to make your R56 Mini Cooper S more reliable. Watch that video. Take all that stuff that I say in that video and do it. Your car's going to be reliable. Okay, so once you get you know, all the stuff that was recalled fixed, do your scheduled maintenance. And scheduled maintenance doesn't just mean change your oil. Obviously change your oil, and don't do it to BMW's schedule, because it's not going to work. People recommend on these cars every 4,000 miles. Some people say 4,000 miles, you're going to be good. It's not that expensive if you do it yourself. It's an easy job. In fact, I have a video on that too. It's not hard. If you're paying somebody else to do it, it might get expensive, but 4,000 miles, I mean, how many times do you drive 4,000 miles in a year? If you drive a lot, you're only going to change your oil 4 or 5 times a year. Maybe 6 if you drive like a lot. But change it yourself. It's use good quality oil. Use a good oil filter, and make sure you change the O-ring in the oil filter housing, and change the crush washer, and so you won't get a leak. And that's not the only maintenance item though. Don't just change your oil. Every, I believe it's 80,000 miles, or maybe it's every 100,000 miles, you should change, in the automatic, change your transmission fluid. They call it a lifetime transmission fluid. It's not true. You can't do that. And I don't know how often you should change the manual transmission fluid. I will look it up since I'm done with this video, and I'll put it, in fact, I'm gonna write it right here on the screen right now. Alright, so while I was standing there, you could have read that. See what else. All the plastic parts, like the thermostat housing and the coolant tube in the back. Obviously I disagree with the fact that they used plastic for the coolant tube. I think they should have made it out of something else, but they did it, and it's gonna last you 70,000 miles, probably 60,000 miles at least. And that is not as hard to change as everybody says it is, and it's not expensive. I bought mine, it was $27, and I have a video on that too. I have a video, anything you need to change pretty much, I have a video on how to do it. It's super easy. It's not expensive. The thermostat housing itself, that's plastic, and I actually agree with them making that out of plastic. I think it would be pretty, it was cost effective. I think it'd be pretty expensive to make that out of like billet aluminum. And then, if your thermostat fails, you have to replace the whole thing anyway. So you're not going to win with that one. So you might as well have it plastic like this one is. And that's probably why they went with the plastic coolant tube too, because you probably don't want to put metal tube into a plastic thermostat housing. But change those. Change them whenever they go bad, or every 100,000 miles or whatever, and your car will be fine. It's to say it's not reliable, once again, because of a wear item that you didn't replace, just doesn't make sense. And I think I already said this, but anytime you're replacing one of your wear items, replace it with an upgraded part. Like the water pump, I know I said, they make metal ones now, aluminum ones, with aluminum impellers and everything. Replace it with one of those, and you won't have to worry about it anymore. You can't get a better thermostat housing or water pipe, but you can get better coolant hoses. In fact, I have a video on that too. Use silicone coolant hoses. They're way better. If you get a hole in anything, any of your wear items, if you have to replace it with something better, or at least OEM, and your car's going to last forever. Not forever, but for a long time. So to conclude, whether or not I think the N14 is reliable, absolutely I think it's reliable as long as you take care of it. In fact, I wouldn't want any other motor. I'm glad about this is a 2009 Mini Cooper S behind me. I'm glad it's the first Mini Cooper I bought. It's not going to be the last Mini Cooper I buy. I want a R53 supercharger. If I do get an N14 motor, it'll be because I bought a GP2. There won't be. I can't see any other reasons. These are easier to soup up. So, and if you take care of the maintenance, they're good. And I'll probably end up buying an F56 eventually too. And I really want an electric Mini. So, which is kind of weird, I guess. But I want an electric car, and I like Mini Coopers, so I'll probably buy an electric Mini. Like like I said earlier, if you drive a Mini Cooper, check out Mini Cooper DIY on Facebook. I'll put a link to it in the description. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not like this video, give it a thumbs down, and I'll catch you in the next video.